Tim Weisberg here, along with science advisor Matt Moniz and Stephanie Burke. We have Moniz back in studio for the first time in a while. I'm just going to start putting up every microphone. They'll all work eventually. But he's back for the first time in a while. How you been, Moniz?
I've been very, very, very busy.
I can tell.
Taking care of a few health issues, but I've been tapped by the BFRO to help them out with a bunch of backlog of cases. So I've been interviewing witnesses, checking out locations and stuff.
That explains the beard.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that you are, more, kind of an undercover move toward trying to find the Bigfoot creatures.
He's just trying to match Bigfoot, that's all.
I thought he was trying to match me. It's almost like a competition to see which one of us has the bushier beard at this point.
No, I think you got it right now.
I didn't even know that you were growing yours. I just assumed because you usually do in the winter like me.
Yeah.
But I was telling them beforehand I actually had to shave the sides down a little bit, trim it down a little bit, sculpt it a little bit. So, and I got some promo pictures coming up for the station, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I might be less squatchy myself, but we'll see how that goes. I like being bushy in the winter.
You look better squatchy.
I like it. I think it makes me look distinguished.
I like it more full the way you have it now.
This is kind of getting kind of creepy, I think,
for
the audience. The audience is these two guys are just admiring their beards. I thought the show was about the paranormal, which it is. We talk about the paranormal each and every Saturday night, and tonight the silent assassin, Matt Costa, is not here, which how often do we actually run a show without the silent assassin producing? And he's gone from producing the audio part to, which is, I do that now, which is why we always have mistakes, to over to the video part, but he can't be with us for tonight and probably for a couple of weeks. So we have John Brightman filling in over there, and we've simplified everything for you, John.
Yes, very much simplified. Thank God.
So for those of you who are watching on the on Spooky TV, it's SpookySouthCoast.com, and on YouTube and on the Spooky South Coast app, you're not going to see the same presentation that you're used to with Spooky TV, because I had to load everything up myself, and I'm not nearly as good at that stuff as Matt. I go over there and I start trying to mess around with it to set it all up for John to be able to run it, and there's all these crazy backgrounds and things where video comes zooming in and all. I'm like, no. That's way beyond my capability. So we kept it really simple. So it won't look as fancy as it usually does, but
we're trying.
We'll try to make up for that with good content tonight. Because tonight our guest will be Tara Teresa Hill is our guest, and she runs a website called The Ghost Post, and she's an author as well. We're going to be talking about ghosts all night. We love to talk about ghosts. It's one of our favorite things to discuss in the world of the paranormal, at least one of mine. So we'll be joined by her a little bit later on. We'll also take your calls at 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. We're actually back on the radio tonight for the first time in a couple of weeks.
It's been a while.
It's been a matter of NFL games. Last week I couldn't be here because I was actually at the game. So we couldn't even go over our Spooky TV stream and just do a show that way because I was too busy, eating steak tips and lobster rolls.
So you had lobster, but I don't know if I would have wanted to do the show during that game. That was a good game.
Right. It was by the second half when things were comfortable. I was like, I should probably just jump on Spooky TV right now and do a Spooky South Coast. But
you could have.
That's not what I'm getting paid for. I'm getting paid to write about the game. So it was fun to have a Saturday night off for a change too. But we love doing the show, but sometimes it's nice not to have to be here. Of course, I have no idea what day it is when I'm covering a Patriots game. I just assume that it's Sunday, no matter what.
Right.
Even if it's a Thursday night game or a Monday night game, it's always just Sunday to me. And the Patriots, of course, playing tomorrow in the AFC Championship game.
I'm bummed right now because I have to do a gallery reading from 2 to 4 and that game is at 3.
Just tell everybody at 3 that there's no more spirits coming through.
Can you imagine?
Be like, I'm sorry, the connection's gone dead.
It's done.
The connection's gone dead. Everybody, there's going to be, not to make it sexist, but let's pretty much go with the predominant
correct
gender roles in this. There's going to be a lot of women that are there that want to make connections to the other side, and there's going to be a lot of men who got dragged along and are there just because their wives wanted the emotional support or girlfriends or whatever, and they really want to leave the game. I know that that's sexist, and in today's environment, I don't want to pinpoint any particular gender as to preferring football over the other or spirit messages as opposed to the other, but let's just be honest. There's going to be a lot of guys in there that are hoping that you'll hurry up.
I'm just going to assume that those guys have not agreed to go to this considering it's the NFL playoffs.
I know that if it wasn't, if it wasn't for the fact that I cover the games, I would find every excuse in the world. Somebody could call me up and be like, I got a demon in my house. I need you to come help me get rid of it. I'll be like, I'll be there at probably 9 o'clock.
What happens if somebody comes in tomorrow, a guy with his wife, he starts asking you questions about the Patriots?
Oh, it's going to happen, I'm sure. Listen, I successfully predicted the last set of playoff games.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Like last week's games
Yeah.
or last year?
All of them. I sat down, I picked everybody.
Did you pick the teams? Did you pick the scores?
No, I picked the teams. I wasn't going to go as far as the
alright.
scores because it didn't really matter to me as long as, they won. But
I could do that.
I was sitting at a table with some people that are sitting behind me right now and kept telling them the Vikings were going to win. And right down to the wire, they're like, yeah, no, you were totally wrong. I was like, all right, 3 out of 4 is not bad. And then that last minute was pretty intense. So,
like, I'm pretty sure that I could have picked who was going to win the games. Although I probably would have picked Pittsburgh.
no, well,
But-
see, that's what I figured. Everybody was going to pick the Steelers, but I knew for sure.
I didn't believe the Steelers would win that
See,
game.
when you get to be like what I did a couple of years ago, where I correctly predicted the exact score of Patriots games,
I remember that.
like 3 or 4 times in one season.
Yep.
To the point where one of the editors wrote a column questioning whether or not I actually was psychic.
That's hilarious.
So when you can predict the exact scores like I do, then I'll be impressed.
I didn't care as much to do that. That wasn't.
To be
was
clear, I'm
important.
impressed by your psychic abilities.
Oh, well,
I'm
thank
not
you.
impressed by your
So
football
kind of
psychic
you.
abilities.
Well,
So-
fine. I won't tell you who's going to win.
I don't need to know who's going to win.
I think we all know who's going to win.
Well, hey, let's not just.
This
make
is
automatic
Jacksonville.
assumptions.
Right.
Come on now.
It's the number 1 defense in the league. Don't take them too lightly. So anyway, that's that's by the time people listen to this on podcast, the game will already be over. They'll be like, these guys
Right.
are idiots. Like,
Right.
But we are going to talk about ghosts coming up a little bit later on. But Moniz, I do want to ask you. You said that you've been going out and handling a lot of these Bigfoot cases, and I think there's a lot of focus on Bigfoot research right now. The paranormal world goes in trends.
Yeah.
And we had our ghost trend, and we had a little bit of a UFO trend for a couple of years where people were starting to get into that. I think right now demonology is a big trend, but there's a lot of people too that are getting into the cryptids, and a lot of people are very interested in Bigfoot research. And whether or not you want to say these creatures exist, and not you, I mean, people who are looking into this, I'm interested a little bit into the pathology and the procedures of investigating for a Bigfoot. So if somebody tells you we've gotten these reports, say we'll use Middleborough because that's had a frequent amount of sightings.
Okay.
So a couple towns away from here. So Middleborough's had some sightings. People say that they've seen this creature walking through the woods. They've captured it maybe on some of their game cameras, maybe some of their home exterior surveillance cameras caught something. And, maybe they found prints in the woods that look like they're not anything that's normally occurring out there in the woods. What would be your first step as a researcher to go out there and try and verify these claims that people are making?
Well, the first thing is to make an assessment of the people making the reports, just like in paranormal research or UFOs. Am I dealing with somebody that has mental issues, is, drunk on drugs? You do the same ruling out of, the wheat from the chaff that you
Right.
do in regular paranormal. If they turn out to be a credible type of witness, then you follow up with, the typical questions. Where did it happen? What time did it happen? Who is with you, if applicable, and things like that. Then you start to get into the meat and potatoes of what they saw, if it's something that they saw. A lot of times, a lot of reports they're getting now is like footprints or audible noises and stuff like that. We just had a case where it was a road runner case. It ran across a road on Route 44 in Connecticut. I'm not going to get into particulars where. But
Was it wearing a red flannel shirt?
no.
Okay, good.
No.
All right.
But,
Just had to ask.
Talked to the witnesses, described a tall creature over 7 feet tall, covered in hair, crossing the road from one side to the other.
I swear I wasn't in Connecticut.
Well, what's interesting is
Well, he said covered in hair.
covered in hair. Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Have
Don't answer
you
that.
not seen me
No.
with a shirt off?
No.
You'd be covered in tattoos. You'd be the Bigfoot covered in tattoos.
True. But it's just like paranormal research or UFO research.
So you're collecting all of the data ahead of time and the reports of what it is that you're looking for. But from what I'm wondering is now you're going out there and you're trying to find if there's something. And I know how to look for ghosts. I know what to bring with me. I know what experiments to run. I know all that kind of stuff. If I was going out there to try to prove or try to verify claims of a Bigfoot sighting, I wouldn't know where to begin to be able to say if there was something anomalous that was out in those woods or not.
Oh, it's not that easy. I'll grant you that, because you have to be familiar with what's normal in the woods and what's not. Even though if this is a natural creature, it being in the woods would be quote unquote normal, you know.
Right, but it wouldn't be normal for you to encounter signs of it.
Right.
So you want to, I'm sure you're used to saying, okay, I know that in this particular area, there's, fox would be running around the woods, deer,
and
wild turkeys, anything like that. You know what to look for signs of.
Coyote.
But you knew that if you saw something that maybe suggested a bear, you would say, well, bears aren't usually down in this area.
Right. You rule in or out what other animals it can be. Say in like southern Connecticut, we know that there are pretty much no moose. Okay. So if something is breaking branches, 8 feet up, in Maine, seeing a trail 8 feet up in the air and branches broken, there are plenty of moose out there with big antlers that can clear it. Southern Connecticut, not so much. So if you got something that's clearing a path, taller than you are, and the tallest thing that you would have out in those woods would be, a white-tailed deer. That's only going to come up maybe to your chest or your chin. You're looking at something like that. What would be breaking big branches like that high up?
And just a question that's popped up in the chat room. Somebody wants to know if they want to reach out to you, what's a good way to get a hold of you these days?
Spookycrew still hits to my email. Okay,
so Spookycrew at SpookySouthCoast.com. If you want to get in touch with Matt, whether it be for Bigfoot stuff or any reason. I find that when people are reporting encountering these creatures, or when they think that they found something that could possibly be a Bigfoot creature, usually a lot of them have a pretty good handle on what it is that's out in the woods. Maybe it's a hunter who hunts frequently and knows what should be out there, or somebody who lives on the edge of the woods that knows what kind of animals they usually see. So that probably helps that you have people that they can already kind of say to you, listen, I've seen deer walking around in the woods. I know what a deer looks like in the woods. So they do have a little bit of a background that can help you narrow some things down.
Yes. The biggest one that gets confused are bear. Now, bears in certain areas, especially here in southern New England.
Not impossible.
No, we do have reports of them around here, but the bear that we have around here are small black bear. They're at the most the size of maybe a German Shepherd or even smaller. Large black bear you find more up in New Hampshire and Maine and things like that. Those can be confused, but the bear that we have around here are too small. And when you got something that stands, over 7-8 foot tall, even a small, German Shepherd sized bear, even if it stands on its feet, it's only going to be as tall as you.
My favorite bear is the one that made it to the Cape.
Oh, the one that on the canal there?
Somehow made it over the bridge.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he had the permit for that. But so there is a process involved. So people are people who listen to the show frequently are like, well, where's Moniz been? It's not just something that you're doing on Saturday nights. I mean, this is something that is probably taking up a good deal of your time.
Yeah, I can take a ride out to Worcester area on a Wednesday night, or a lot of times it's meeting people when they have the availability, and unfortunately weekends are the only time that they have available, or so you got to make hay while the sun shines.
Is it helpful to have it be a time when, because I'm sure when you're going out there and you're looking, like, you've got to be aware of hunting season. You got to be
Yes.
aware of where you are.
Yeah.
It probably makes it easier.
Whether it's private property, public property, what times you can be allowed in those areas and stuff. Yeah.
When hunting season is over, it probably makes it a little bit easier, not only for you to go out into the woods to look for them, but I would think if these creatures are out there, they know to stay away when there's more man in the woods.
Well, most hunting is done during the day. Okay. And going out in Bigfoot research, you're not so much looking for Bigfoot during the day. You're looking for its signs because it's daylight. It's easier to see the broken branches, the footprints, and the scat, and the remains of deer that have been fed upon and things like that. To track them and find the animal itself, it's more done at night because they're thought to be nocturnal. And it makes it a lot easier, to go into the woods at night and not have to worry about hunting, because hunting usually isn't done at night with certain exceptions.
Well, I think that I would like to go out at some point, in the spring when the weather's a little better, and I'm not much of a woodsman, despite what the beard might suggest. I am not much of a woodsman. I don't think that I would be. I know that it's probably easier to find tracks in the snow.
Yes.
But I think that I would probably, to me, I just look at it as, wait a minute, a whole bunch of white stuff on the ground might make it a lot easier for me to get lost in the woods. And plus, I'm kind of a wuss. I'll wait until the spring when it's warmer. And so maybe sometime this spring we'll go out and you can actually show me the process of because I've never done it. And I mean, we did it one time, on Moni's Island. But that was
doesn't
kind of,
really count.
Yeah, we were kind of just like, dummying it up a little bit. But I think I would like to go out and just kind of see the process so that I have a better understanding of what it is that you do. And, maybe if two bearded gentlemen go out there, the Bigfoot might be like, hey, these are my people.
Yeah.
I want to come out and say hi. So let's make a plan to do that at least at some point.
Well, I plan on taking other people out in spring. I'll try and put together a little gathering.
Well, let's just do something you and I first.
Yeah, you and I.
I don't want everybody to know that I'm afraid of what's out there.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
First.
But we can set up stuff for other people if they want to go too. I know plenty of people that would love to come out and go. My daughter, Lex, you're welcome to come up with us too.
There's rattlesnakes too around here. People don't realize that. You go up to like the Blue Hills.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
There's rattlesnakes. So,
We have rattlesnakes in Wareham.
So there's reasons to be a little bit worried about going into the woods.
Seriously.
I want to know when we're going to go alien hunting and bring Stephanie with
Never.
us.
Well, you
I'd
don't
love
you
to
don't
bring
really
her.
you don't have
Nope.
to hunt them.
Better
You just,
yet, John.
you just call
I'll bring them to her.
No,
No?
no.
You just call them down. You don't have to hunt them.
Oh, that's
You
true.
just say, "Here she is. We got her out here in a wide open area. Now's the time to land."
You guys are so mean.
Oh, you know you
We're
love
not
it.
mean. It's research.
No. It's not research. What do you need to research?
It's research.
What good is that going to do for anyone to have aliens come and find me?
Be
Well,
entertaining.
Because if it's you,
This is
that's
true.
one person they're not going to be bothering and abducting for one night. So it's actually a service to all of mankind.
Plus, if we were going to do this, I mean, you think that you would be able to talk to them and, because they would probably speak to you, telepathically, mentally.
Yeah.
So that would be a good help for us to be able to speak with them and know what's going on, is having you there.
You don't need me for that.
I can't do what you do.
No, but I'm fairly
But-
certain that aliens have some type of weird superpower where they could just get across to you what they need to without using me in the middle.
I still like the idea of you being there.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I've sworn off aliens forever. And
I'm going to help. I'm going to help Stephanie with the transition out of this conversation right now.
thank you so much.
She has to go in the other room and get our guest on the phone.
Perfect.
So she's going to do that, and we can pivot a little bit here.
You can stop picking on me.
I will say this: I got really excited last night when the government shut down,
Oh, good.
because my thinking was, if the government shut down, then that means that there's nothing really going on at the White House, and we can go look for ghosts there, right? So I did tweet the president, and I did ask him, if I was like, hey, if the government needs some money, we can host a fundraiser and we can do a little ghost hunt there, and I promised pizza and Swedish fish. He seems like he's a pizza and Swedish fish kind of guy. So
Did you get a response, though?
not yet, but he's busy. He's working on a bunch of different things, but he may get back to us and say, that it sounds like a very, very fine idea.
I mean, he doesn't really live there anyway, so it's not like we'd be interrupting.
Well, I mean, I'm willing to go on a Saturday night when he's at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need him to be there.
No.
I just, leave us a couple of staff members that have had experiences to talk to us.
Yep.
And give us the chance to, be able to.
We'll be hanging out with Lincoln.
Or whoever else wants to show up.
Yeah.
If all we get is Rutherford B. Hayes, I'll be fine with Rutherford B. Hayes.
Will you?
Yeah.
Will you
that's
truly be
fine.
satisfied, or will you need to come back from
No,
Isn't Andrew Jackson's wife also supposed to?
there's a number of spirits that are there, but I'm just saying which ones might actually choose to talk to us. Some of them might be like,
Lincoln or bust.
I think Lincoln would be willing to chat with us, considering his experience with the world of the paranormal.
Yeah, so let's not use Stephanie as bait to bring Lincoln out. Let's throw in a field full of aliens.
We don't
that's
need-
way better.
we don't need
you
you
for
for
bait for
Lincoln.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Lincoln was.
But you can't do
Lincoln
what
was
I
cool
do.
with all this stuff. We don't need it. Not for Lincoln.
He'll talk to us through the recorders.
Like if we need Warren G. Harding, then we'll be like, Stephanie, can you help us find Warren G. Harding? If like William Henry Harrison.
Ghosts like me better than they like you guys.
But these are the harder to find ghosts. Lincoln, I think, will be right there to welcome us.
You think JFK would be there?
Again, the beards.
The
Oh, the
beards?
beards.
As
Yeah,
soon as
no,
we walk
listen.
in, Lincoln's going to be like, those were some very fine beards,
Yes,
gentlemen.
beards or not, I think I still might be cuter than you.
Actually, Lincoln didn't really talk like that. Like everybody always has a, 4 years ago, but apparently Lincoln had a very high-pitched nasally voice.
Really?
Right. So it's kind of more like, 7 years ago. No, I'm not kidding. I'm not making fun. I'm just saying that's historic.
No, I read that
historic
as
fact.
well. Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
that's why Daniel Day-Lewis tried to portray him with more of that kind of a voice than the usual, deep, gruff voice that people associate with him. Because I think a lot of people just think Lincoln sounds like the Hall of the Presidents at Disney World, and that's not actually the case. So, but if, Donald, if you're listening, I'm sorry, President Trump, if you're listening and you want to have us come check out your house, we'd be more than happy to come and investigate it. Like I said, we'll bring pizza if you would prefer Kentucky Fried Chicken, because I understand that that's his favorite food. If you would prefer Kentucky Fried Chicken, we would bring that too.
And Diet Coke.
We'll bring all the Diet Coke you can drink. We will gladly let you have as many scoops of ice cream as you would like. That part is covered. All we ask is that you let us walk around and investigate and poke our heads into places where they don't belong. The last time I was at the White House, I got a little bit in trouble. So I spit in a spittoon that I wasn't supposed to spit in. But it was a spittoon, so I thought that's what you did with it. But
Junior high Washington trip?
no, actually, it was. I don't think I went into the White House on the Washington trip. I didn't go on the Washington trip for my class. We didn't have one. I went a few years later with another class to videotape it. I got hired to go and videotape it, so I got like a free week off of school, and I got to go videotape it and everything. But I had gone previously to that. So, but it's not the first time I was on the Secret Service radar. Probably won't be the last. No, true story. I got myself on the Secret Service radar a couple of times, but that's all right. I don't mean any harm by it. I just sometimes say dumb things.
See, I would be all for that because I'd want to talk to JFK.
Oh, I thought you would be all for him on the Secret Service watch list.
No, I meant going to the White House and investigating.
Well, what is it about JFK that would make you want to communicate with him?
I want to know what his life was like and, the stuff that people don't know that much about. But not only that, the honest answer, who shot him? He must know by now. I mean, he's dead, and I'm sure he must know what's going on if he's a spirit and he can move around.
Assumptions like that are what gets you on Secret Service watch lists. Let me just tell you that. I know John Tenney's so proud of me. He's like, oh, you're on the Secret Service watch list. Welcome to the club. All right, well, why don't we get into our discussion for tonight? And again, if you want to call in at any time during the show and ask us a question or ask a question of our guest, you can do so by calling in at 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. Those are the numbers to call in at any point during the program to join in with the discussion. You can also do so in the chat room at Spooky TV at SpookySouthCoast.com. You can tweet us at SpookySC or just use the hashtag SpookyLive and we'll see it there as well. Or you can email us, Spookycrew at SpookySouthCoast.com. But the best way to get in touch with us is always the old-fashioned way. Call us on the phone. Alexander Graham Bell did not go through all that trouble just for you to sit there on your cell phone and, type tweets and all that kind of stuff. So please reward him by using the phone, and that way there we can actually have a real conversation. And we'll keep an eye on the chat room as well. Stephanie's got the chat room going.
Nope.
I think you didn't get it going?
Computer won't work.
Which chat room? Because I got the YouTube chat
one.
room.
Yep,
I got that one open.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. I'll keep an eye out. If you see, let me just let you know that if you see all capital letters in the chat room, this is a relatively new rule. It doesn't mean they're yelling at you.
Okay.
It means that that's a question that they want to have asked on the air.
Okay.
We've come up with that format where people can type in capital letters when they have a question.
Okay.
And then we still end up usually not seeing it because we're terrible. All right, so we will get into it now with our guest. Since childhood, she's been fascinated with ghosts and hauntings. She's experienced plenty of ghostly phenomena over the years, and she has sought to share those experiences with readers through both her ghost story blog and her fictional work. During college, she took classes like Gothic literature, reading about Dracula, Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and other horror classics, and she always would refer to ghosts into her assignments as well. So that led to her eventually founding an annual college ghost tour to lead incoming students and their parents around, telling them about the spirits that haunted the campus. And she joins us now. We have Tara Teresa Hill joining us on the phone, if I can remember how to do this and not mess anything up. Hello, Tara. Are you with us?
Yes. Hi.
Oh, there you are. Oh, see, it works all right. So, do you prefer just Tara or Tara Teresa or?
Well, I mean, you can call me Tara, but I did take Tara Teresa Hill as my official author name because I don't know. I thought it had a nice ring to it. You know.
It does. It certainly does, and it just, sometimes when you are writing professionally, you want to have a name that has a meaning for you, if maybe it's a family name or maybe it's something else, or maybe you just want to hide from the IRS, whatever it is that you want to do, we encourage it and we're fine with it. So, well, I want to talk to you first and foremost, before we really get into some of these ghost stories and we get into some of your theories on ghosts and some of the real ghost stories that you've shared with people through your blog. I want to ask you about leading a college ghost tour. Where did you go to college that had such a prolific amount of ghost stories that you could run an entire ghost tour about the school?
Well, I went to the College of Mount St. Vincent in Riverdale. It's actually near the Bronx in New York. And basically, all colleges, I've heard of so many college ghost stories. And my college, of course, had its share. And some of them might have just been legends that the students made up, but anyway, when I became a student during orientation, one of the orientation leaders, really sweet lady named Brittany, told us, like I said, I love ghost stories. Are there any ghost stories about the college? And so she told me a bunch of them. And, I really got very excited. And then when I was an orientation leader, this is how it started, I happened to mention some, and I had a bunch of students who were interested, and I said, sure, you know what, I could take you around. And that was the best one I did, because honestly, it was just a bunch of quiet kids ready to hear, like, history/ghost story legends about the college. Other times I did it, and they were just too loud and noisy, and I said, guys, we're never going to see anything if we ever were.
Right. Well, I mean, that's just, it's fascinating to me that you could get, because, we have, here in New England, we've got tons of haunted colleges. Every campus around here has ghost stories and they have legends to share. The problem is that you run into administrations not allowing you to go and either explore those stories or share those stories. I went and gave a ghost talk at UMass Dartmouth. And I didn't dare actually tell any of the ghost stories about UMass Dartmouth because I know how the faculty feels about them being shared there. So it's one of those things where, here we have them everywhere, but we just can't tell them. So I think it's very fascinating that you were able to incorporate that with people. Did anybody ever take the orientation tour, hear these stories and say, you know what, I think I changed my mind. I'm going to go somewhere else?
No. I mean, they were pretty interested in them. I mean, sometimes they weren't too happy when I told them about some of the dorms being haunted, and they said, do you know which rooms? And I said, well, not officially, no.
Well,
but I said, but don't worry about it. You're freshmen. You're going into alumni at the time. That was the building. I said, you're going into alumni anyway, so the really haunted places are Seton Hall and Merrillack Hall, so don't worry. And then, of course, I did see ghosts in the other places, too, and I was like, well, yeah, they're everywhere.
Well, and that's the thing too, I think, is if you're opening up your mind to the fact that they're there, then they're going to be more receptive to coming out and talk to you. So people going into these, dorms and not knowing which ones were haunted and which ones weren't, I'm sure their first mindset is, I bet you I got the haunted dorm. And so then maybe these spirits are a little bit more likely to come out and interact with them.
Maybe. That's a good point.
Or maybe it's just, they just go to wherever the best parties are.
Some people swore to me they never saw anything. They heard all the stories and never saw anything. Some people I know had experiences. So, I had a few experiences myself, which, in retrospect, they creeped me. In retrospect, I love them, but while they were happening, I got either creeped out or confused because I didn't understand what was going on at the time.
The one good thing is that, if you're going to a toga party and when the party's over, you can just use the toga to turn it into a ghost to scare one of your roommates or something.
That's funny.
That's what I would do. But then again, I didn't stay at college because nobody would room with me if I did. Nobody wanted to stay with me. I was a commuter instead. So now with what you were introducing these stories to folks, did that mean that you're there on campus, you're there involved, you're going to school as well? Did that mean that people were willing to come to you and tell you when they had a weird or strange experience? Were you like the go-to person if something strange happened?
At the college?
Yeah.
No, they just kind of knew that I knew the ghost stories, and I did do some events through RAs and everything, especially around Halloween. I did a couple of Ouija board readings in the college, where, we tried to contact spirits around the college. So we did, I guess so, yeah. I probably got a bit of a reputation.
Well, and you said that when it says in your bio that as you were studying, you were focusing on a lot of that stuff. And I think it's funny now that, colleges are actually teaching courses with ghosts as a central theme. Maybe it might not be the actual pursuit of proving their existence, but at least ghosts are becoming more and more of a topic that people are interested in at an academic level.
Yeah, that's true. I was always interested in, the ghost stories, whether they're true, like accounts, or they're, through experiences, or they're fiction. I really love fictional ghost stories. That's why I also write them. But for me, it was just, has always been an interest. So, but I think it is really cool that they're also teaching people about those things. And I think it's important to keep an open mind to, to the unknown and to the spirit world. Especially when you think about our ancestors, the people who came before us, and maybe how, if we think about them more and we focus on them more, we can give them energy to kind of help us through our challenges in life. And that's what I think anyway.
Well, absolutely. And ghosts are a frequently used literary device because they are an opportunity to be very reflective of ourselves and of our times. And I think that people use ghosts as a way to kind of represent in some ways they can embody the fears of mankind, but they also embody what it is to be human and what it is to kind of look at the fact that we are mortal and we only do have a limited amount of time to make our mark here, and that, kind of the way that we're remembered is our ghost. It's kind of what lives on after us. So they're a very powerful tool, and I'm sure that you use them in a variety of ways in your writing.
Yeah, I really love to get to kind of go through the ghost point of view, actually. I've written a bunch of stories through the ghost point of view. Now, you don't always know that they're a ghost at the time, but I really, in some of my stories, but I really love to go into that. What I'm trying to do with ghost characters, really, is to give them more of, less of a passive part in the story and more a part of actually being a full-blown character with personalities and, so kind of like get to know them and what they're going through and what the story. So actually the story revolves around them and not necessarily the human character.
And when you're doing that, when you're crafting these ghosts as characters, I'm sure it's important to you to keep the humanity of them. So it's not just a matter of, people are afraid of ghosts. That's something that has always been a common theme. There's always that fear, that apprehension when you encounter one. But I think a lot of times ghosts are dehumanized. And by putting it in their perspective, I'm sure you have the ability to kind of explain who they are a little bit more.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to take away, take away more the fear. Like, it's not that I don't think that horror has its place. I mean, there are people love horror stories, and I get it. But I like to get beyond that and see, but what is the ghost really about? What is their personality? And I actually like to do it where the humans and the ghosts kind of help each other and interact with each other.
Is there a way when you are crafting these? Do you just look at them as the same way you would craft any living character, that you are giving them the same thoughts, feelings, humanity, or do you have to take into account the situation that they're in, and does that change the way that you portray the character?
Well, it really depends on the story, and what the story is about. But for the most part, I think of them as a human character, but with kind of like with superpowers, because they can levitate things in some scenes, or they can flow through walls, or there's always that tension of they can do other things. And are they visible to the person the whole time? Are they invisible? Do they suddenly pop in, where the person's thinking and suddenly, hey, you were thinking about me, and so here I am, and it's like, and I kind of go for a comical towards it, but not straight up comedy, like slapstick comedy, but sort of like, not witty either. It's kind of hard to explain. Like, they'll just come in on a moment's notice. I have that happen in a couple of scenes I'm working on in a novel. So, again, it depends on the person, the character of the ghost and the relationship between them and the human. But that's kind of what I go for, is to make them as human as possible, but sort of with like special powers, because they don't have the same limitations we do.
In a way, though, it's kind of, not having the limitations of living characters. It probably gives you the opportunity to give them a lot of omniscience, too, in the stories, that they're able to, even if they don't have a direct knowledge of something that another character may be thinking or feeling, they're able to kind of be around them without them knowing. So it almost like a ghost as a narrator, for example, probably gives you a lot more insight than a person telling a ghost story where the ghost is just one of the characters.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you're definitely right about that. And I love doing a lot of my short stories. I do the ghost as the narrator / main character, actually. And I love writing in first person. That's actually my go-to, is to write in first person, which is cool, but it can be a bit difficult once, it gets past a short story and it starts becoming a novel. It's like, all right, well, so why did I start this in first person again?
Right. Well, one of the advantages of researching actual true ghost stories is you must be able to use those actual reports that you're collecting from people and finding on your own. You must be able to utilize those as a way to help, further craft and define your characters.
Oh, definitely. I keep it in mind for inspiration, or, writers get, ideas all the time. So something may be happening, and I'll say, hey, that's a good ghost story idea. That would make a good short ghost story. Or what about a ghost story from this perspective or something? And so, I think they do filter in, because I'll say, oh, ghosts can do this, or ghosts can do that, or maybe I should see if I could use this in a story, levitating objects is very rare, but, in a story it might be an interesting technique to have the ghost use, especially if they can use it to, help someone.
Well, but there's also, too, that line of when you're writing, you will know what can be too fantastical to include in a story. Because as you're collecting these real true life reports, and then you are taking bits and pieces of those and putting them into your fictional accounts, you might know to say, okay, well, a ghost isn't going to flip over somebody's car. You kind of...
that's a little ridiculous.
You know what the limits of believability are, because you know what you believe from the reports that have come into you.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been a story that you have, written and you said, okay, I know I'm taking a lot of poetic license with this, but it might be a little bit of stretching believability, but it serves the story. I'm sure there must have been a few instances of that.
Yeah, there's one I worked on where I said, all right, I think, because it ended up being a romance story, and I was like, this might be stretching it a little, you know.
Was it
Oh,
ghost sex? You can say it. If it was ghost sex, you can say it on the show.
No, I don't do that, no. But
Okay.
it was like, you know,
We don't
two
judge.
teenagers falling in love kind of thing, and I was like, really? I'm writing this? I'm like, yeah, why not? It's cute, it's fictional. It's not like I'm saying it's real.
Because we've done entire shows on ghost sex. So if you have ever written ghost sex books, that's cool with us. I just want to put it out there.
No. I draw the line. I was thinking more like, have you ever, I'm sure you've probably heard of it, The Ghost and Mrs. Muir?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that, kind of like that emotional relationship sort of thing.
Well, but you know from the stories that you've collected and from researching ghosts, people do have those type of relationships with the spirits that live alongside them. Whether, you know, it might not be a full out romance, but it will turn into, you know, a dependent relationship. It will turn into a relationship where they actually care about what it is that the ghost is thinking and feeling.
Yeah, that's true. Or they at least I mean, I've heard of some stories where, you know, they sort of accept them as like a part of the family. I've even had some people tell me they've asked the ghost to come with them. And in some cases, like if they move, they'll ask the ghost to come with them, the spirit to come with them. They'll invite them, and if they don't, they're upset. Sometimes the spirit will say no, and sometimes I've actually heard that they will follow them. And I'll think, well, that's interesting.
So what is in collecting the real life stories, you know, what is the one that you would have to say stretches your level of believability? If you're willing to kind of stretch a little bit in your fictional work, there has to have been something that you've heard in real life that you said, this doesn't sound right to me, but everything seems to indicate that it's true.
Well, the thing is, I try not to. I mean, that's the first thing I tell, you know, my the people who are interviewing with me is I'm not judging. So I really don't kind of even want to answer that question because I don't judge them, because even if I'm saying in the back of my head, you know what, I'm like, just leave it alone. I always say on the blog, I let everybody make up their own mind. I'm telling you what they tell me, and everybody else, you know, the reader can make up their own mind on it, because, you know, I have to take the person at their word. You know what I mean? Right.
And there's some. I mean, there's some sense of if you're a paranormal investigator, if you're going out there as a person trying to prove or disprove evidence of a haunting, then you have to kind of take things and really kind of pare down what is believable and what's fantastical, and you need to look at it with a more critical eye. But with what you do, and you even refer to yourself as more of a ghost reporter, you're just chronicling the experiences and the stories that people have experienced. You're not actually trying to prove or disprove if they're true.
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly it. So, because I honestly, I don't want to try to disprove or prove ghosts. I just think they're really interesting all on their own, you know, and sometimes people have these weird experiences they can't explain. I've had weird experiences that I can't explain, and I just feel it's almost like I don't know, it's going to sound silly, but you know when you're growing up and you're reading about, like, you know, you read fairy tales and magic books and people going into other realms and things? Mm-hmm. To me, it has that sort of mystical quality, and I like it. And I really don't want to disturb it. I just want to expound on it and talk about it and explore it, but not to disprove it or prove it.
Is there going to be, you know, if... how can I put this in a way that's not... I'm trying to put this in a way that's not overly critical of the people that are telling you these stories, but what is kind of your level of cutoff where you have to say this person is just either nuts or looking for attention? There must have been some stories that you've heard where you can tell that while whether the story is believable or not, the person just doesn't seem credible that's telling it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's harder for me dealing with it, I mean, because I'll write, you know, I've thought to myself, they could totally be making this up, and I'm writing it down. I'm like, well, all right. You know, it makes for an interesting piece for the blog, okay. But at the same note, I say to myself, well, what's hard for me is when, and I feel so bad, because some people get really, really excited about wanting to talk and share their experiences. And the hardest part for me is to figure out, how do I turn the limited experiences they had into something that's readable, and that can be difficult because it might just be something where shadows are seen, or a lot of banging on the walls, things that it's kind of hard that that add to the atmosphere of a haunting, but don't necessarily make for a big ta-da kind of thing, So sometimes I'll say, well, I'm going to stick with it. This is what happens. And I like it when the readers, I like it when the the person I'm interviewing, right, kind of gives me the freedom to say, well, I am still a writer, and so I'm trying to make this entertaining. Where sometimes I've had people get so critical of details that I'm like, look, you want me to write it verbatim how you said it? So that could be a little frustrating. But again, I still say, well, it is their story technically. So I do it as best I can.
There's a value in just the stories being told, whether it's believable, whether the person's believable, whether the story seems fantastical. My firm belief is that there's always a value in somebody just talking about a ghost and talking about the possibility of a ghost, because it keeps it in the forefront of people's minds as being something that can be part of our reality.
I agree, definitely.
When we do a stage show, myself and some of my friends, where we actually present ghost stories on stage, we have a friend of ours, Frank Grace, who's an amazing photographer, and he goes out and takes these photos that are essentially a ghost story in a photo. And we take those, we put them up on a big screen behind us, and then we go out and we actually share the stories of these locations, almost like we're taking people on a ghost tour while they're sitting in their seats. And one of the things that we have had to really break from the mindset of is being paranormal researchers ourselves and being people who go out and lecture on ghosts and try to get people to believe in the existence of ghosts with some of the video and the audio that we present to them. We had to really work hard to get ourselves out of that mindset and to say sometimes this good story is just a good story, and that there's value in just telling a good story. It seems like with your work, you're able to kind of ride that line with no problem because you're not firmly putting yourself in the proof or disproof mindset.
Yeah, I mean, the approach that I'm taking to my work is basically how I have always felt about ghosts. I mean, I personally believe in them, but like I said, I've enjoyed reading. I grew up reading, books by Hans Holzer, reading about his true accounts and other accounts, and, and just looking up. Before really looking like Google, I think before Google Images was a thing, I used to go in college, I would do this, and my boyfriend, who's now my husband, he would make fun of me because he would say, "You scared yourself again, didn't you?" And so, what do you mean? I'd go online and just look up ghost pictures for fun,
Sure.
Sometimes, and I would go through them for like an hour, and then of course some of them would scare me because I would read the stories behind it, and I'd say, "Oh my God!" And then I'd say, "Oh, I got to go to sleep now. I have class at 9 a.m, and great, I scared myself." So my approach has always been to just enjoy it for what it is, and just, enjoy the story, like you said, just for what it is, being a story and being interesting and different.
But also, too, I mean, if you're getting scared, it's giving you a reaction. And when we come back, we're going to have to take a break in a couple of minutes for the news. But when we come back, I want to kind of talk about that a little bit with you, the idea of the thrill of the chill and the idea of people wanting to be afraid of things, and then, kind of utilizing that as a storytelling capability as well. And then we'll get into some of your thoughts about and hear some of these stories that you've collected of true ghost stories, and get your thoughts on what ghosts might be as well.
Okay, that sounds great.
And if anybody wants to check out the website during the news break, it's The Ghost Post is the name of the website, and you can get to it by typing in ghostpost.co, and that will take you right to the website. And or just Google search The Ghost Post or Tara Teresa Hill. Either way, that'll get you right to the page, and you can follow her as well on social media. If you want to follow her on Twitter, you can find her at Tara Teresa Hill, and at facebook.com/Tara Teresa Hill. It's so much easier when you can just use your name for everything, right?
Yeah.
Easier for everybody to find you. And you have a YouTube page as well. What will people find on the YouTube page?
Well, basically what I did was I do read-alouds of the blogs the different blogs, I'm going through them and just doing read aloud. So that way, well, I figure, it's like you can hear a ghost story like for on the go or a slumber party or whatever, but also maybe if people can't read them, they can just, if they want to, if they want to listen to them, they can do that as well.
And there's value in hearing the human voice sharing these stories as well. We can talk about that as well coming up in the next hour, but we are going to take a break for the news. Again, if you want to call in at any point during the show and share your thoughts and experiences or have some questions for our guest, Tara Teresa Hill, 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. If you want to call in toll free, those numbers are available right on our website, SpookySouthCoast.com. Also on that site, you can find links to all of our past shows, links to the YouTube videos of all the shows that we've done in the past. We are coming up on our 12th anniversary next week. We'll be celebrating 12 years on the air, so there's a lot of Spooky South Coast content for you if you have not consumed it all. And what are you waiting for? You've got all this time on your hands. It's the winter. Nobody's doing anything. You just want to sit around, listen to podcasts, and watch YouTube videos. We've got you covered. Maybe you got a nice new device for Christmas that you want to use and download some content onto. SpookySouthCoast.com. That's the site to go to. You will find everything that you need. So we are going to take a break for the news. We will come back with Tara Teresa Hill talking about ghosts and taking your calls as well. 508-996-0500. Back with more on Spooky South Coast in just a bit.